Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to NEXCO's seminar and webinar on entry process from start to finish. Today's webinar and seminar will be presented by Diane Weinberg with Meek, Shepherd, Leo, and Pillsbury, and Frank Vittoridi with Import Commodity Group. Our seminar today is going to give you a very good synopsis of the entry process and how to clear customs, or how to have your products come into the United States and clearing customs.
To every port of entry within the United States. Ports of entry have some discretion to decide which documents they want. Sometimes this even happens with free trade agreement documents, which documents you need. So it's always good to check with the port of entry. If you don't have evidence of the right to make entry, the person desiring to make entry may give a bond for the production of the bill of lading or air bill. Frankie, does that ever happen, or that really doesn't happen anymore? So mostly, again, as Frankie said, almost 100% of the time you're going to have either an air bill or a bill of lading.
Standard procedure for our company.
Yeah.
We only mention that.
Okay.
Or a bill of lading. Or carrier or arrival notice with at least all information on the manufacturer, shipper.
Well, what if you have, if you're making entry by other than a common carrier? Well, then possession of the merchandise at the time of arrival in the U.S. is deemed sufficient evidence of the right to make entry. And we're going to talk about right to make entry because that is something that, that's an area where customs is really focusing. The principal purpose of the current Section 1484 is to prevent, which is entry, is to prevent mere nominal consignees other than licensed customs brokers from filing entries and engaging in the transaction of customs business without a license. Because customs brokers are licensed by DHS, and and the entry law at 1484 limits the right to make entry to the owner or purchaser of imported merchandise or to a licensed customs broker who has been appointed by the owner, purchaser, or consignee of the merchandise. So what is the owner or purchaser? The owner or purchaser, for customs purposes, must have a financial interest in the imported merchandise. So what is evidence of financial interest? Well, obviously being the actual owner or purchaser of the good. If you're a buying or valid selling agent, you would also have a financial interest in the transaction. A person who imports on consignment would have a financial interest. A person who imports under loan or lease would also have a financial interest, as would a person who imports for exhibition at a trade fair, or a person who imports goods for repair or alteration or further fabrication. So, we're going to do another exercise. U.S. company agrees to purchase goods from a seller in Hong Kong. The seller agrees to hold title and bear the risk of loss until the goods are delivered to the customer's warehouse. So title doesn't change until the goods are delivered to the customer's warehouse. The U.S. company will be responsible for all costs other than insurance incurred to transport the goods from the international carrier's Hong Kong dock to the warehouse, including import duties and brokerage fees. Does the U.S. company have the right to make entry? Well, at the time of importation, is the U.S. company the owner of the goods? No, because title has not transferred. But are they the purchaser of the goods? However, as you can see, the U.S. company does not receive ownership until the goods are delivered. Therefore, the U.S. company is not an owner for purposes of the right to make entry. However, the U.S. company has made a purchase for purposes of the right to make entry. It is obligated to make payment upon delivery, and the U.S. company is responsible for most costs and import duties, and therefore you would conclude that the U.S. company has a financial interest in the goods and the right to make entry because it is considered the purchaser of the goods, even though title doesn't transfer until the goods are delivered to the U.S. company's warehouse.
No, I have a question. As you broker, this transaction is coming in. I get a set of documents. Who's the documents concerned with? Very, very simple. Going with the owner of the goods from the licensed broker side.
Yeah.
Am I acting for the manufacturer? Am I acting for the importer?
I would think for the importer of record, the U.S. company.
Okay, then that's who I need, number one, valid power of attorney
Yeah,
for.
absolutely.
Most important.
Yes.
Who the importer of record is, that's who's liable for the transaction.
Sure.
That's who should have all of the pieces of the puzzle from the transaction.
I think they're going to be hiring you, probably.
And that's basically who, even though we're in this instance, the Hong Kong manufacturer may be holding up on the bill of lading, endorsing the bill of lading, so you as the importer can make entry, but can't get the goods until that manufacturer is satisfied using either an LT, the chunk of bank, or the bill of lading. So basically it has to be who the importer of record is going to be here on the 7501, not the manufacturer.
Right, absolutely. And this is only, and here we're just going over right to make entry to show the difference between an owner and purchaser, but they both have the right to make entry. Okay, let's try another exercise. The producer will ship product from Japan to the United States. The invoice consigns the product to the U.S. subsidiary, and the producer will continue to own the product at the time of entry and until it is sold. So, because this is a consignment shipment. And when U.S. Subsidiary has a customer for the product, the producer will sell it to the U.S. subsidiary, and the U.S. subsidiary will in turn sell it to its customer. Does the U.S. subsidiary have the right to make entry? Well, you know, we did say back at the person who imports on consignment does have a financial interest in the transaction. I think that's, so the answer is the producer sends the goods to the U.S. subsidiary for the purpose of the U.S. subsidiary to locate purchasers in the United States. The U.S. subsidiary is importing the product on consignment, and the term consignment used in a commercial sense ordinarily implies an agency and denotes that the property is committed to the company for care or sale. Accordingly, the U.S. subsidiary has a financial interest in the transaction to make for purposes of right to entry. Here's another one. We're having so much fun. ABC